Yeah, I want to go over some three basic insights into the silver markets, three basic scenarios that are actually going to affect all the markets and go over them by one. And this is going to be a simple, short, and sweet video, but I want to emphasize that there's some stories coming out right now about $200 silver, right? And they're basically trying to tantalize you with, yeah, big riches at the end of the rainbow. Now, I just wanted to state again, this is something I've been warning about. Silver could take off very quickly, unexpectedly. It's been known to do this type of stuff, but I'm going with simple common sense logic. Like if it breaks through an all-time record of $50 or more, and I'm going to go over the three basic scenarios, 1, 2, 3, right? If it breaks through $50 or more, it could go quite a bit above that, which might be like $60 or because there's nothing to really stop it. But the next fib point would be 72 to 75. But I wouldn't even know if it would go that high. But then they're talking $200 silver. There's some people talking about $200 silver by the end of the year. I personally, it's of my opinion, you're being set up. And let's get off with number one. There's three scenarios. The first scenario will be war. So we have a girl here wearing a pirate shirt with the skull and crossbones, or the skull and cross swords, and this represents war. Now, that's a scenario that, well, we never know, because, this Middle East is so unpredictable. Like, there's stuff going on in Ukraine, but it's not like it's simmering below the surface. It's not like an all-out pitched battle going on. There's tensions going on in the Middle East. There's always tensions going on in the Middle East. There's new alliances being formed. And now they're talking about to go after ISIS no matter where they are. Does that mean a widespread all-out war? I don't know. It's like ebb and flow. But let's say there's a widespread all-out war. Skull and crossbones is going all the way on. Old girl here is dressed for war, whatever. This is the war model. So, but the thing is, if there's an all-out war, oil is going to go way the hell up. Gold is going to go up, and that'll actually give a lot of life to silver. And if you look back in history, when oil and gold went up due to Middle East tensions, that's when silver had the most life, and it went up fast. And the markets can crash too at the same time due to uncertainty, because the markets are too high. Now, we'll go on to scenario number two. Scenario number two is the economy is actually stagnant. And the economy might be like this old truck back here. And they're trying to paint a good picture by putting showing a nice, happy, frontage or whatever the heck it is on the economy, and telling you the green shoots and we got recovery and things are going to be going along great. And this old truck's going to keep running forever. It's time for, this is the ebb and the flow with the economy. It's just a normal thing. In other words, this truck needs to be taken in the shop, and we need to get some of the basic underpinnings going here again. And we just can't cover up the truck and say it's got no problems. The economy's got problems. So the markets are actually getting top heavy with, they're too high up for what is actually underpinning the markets, as far as the actual economy. Now, Warren Buffett has been keeping billions of dollars out of the markets, and he's actually losing, I think, $29 million a day by doing that, because he's expecting a correction. George Soros has 16% of his entire net worth in a short position on the S&P. The first major parts of that short position will expire sometime before the end of 2014. But he made other bets on top of that. So if that happens, he'll still win out if it happens in 2015. Actually, I'm thinking the middle of the next financial crisis is going to be September 2015. But there could be a lot of crazy things happen, like gold, silver, and oil can go way the hell up. And that's what happened before we had the last crash in the markets. Remember that. Yeah, back in 2008, we actually silver hit a record height. There's so many scenarios. But that's another scenario. The second scenario, though, is that the markets come down by the weight of people realizing that we're not going to get good returns for the next 10 years. And all the responsible people are saying that, even Goldman Sachs, even Grantham Management, that the returns on the bonds and the markets themselves, the corporate bonds and the markets and the government bonds and everything, is lousy outlook for the next 10 years. If you got in 3 years ago when it crashed and you got in at the bottom, you got triple rate return, hey, time to get out. And a lot of people are probably realizing that if the markets come down due to that reason, people just pulling out or they're just coming down for, they just lost enough steam, then silver, gold, and oil is going to drop. Everything's going to drop at once. That's scenario number 2. The third scenario is if in October, the debt clock. The debt clock is running out. Well, we're running out of steam with this debt clock deal. It's like every year they fight like crazy over the budget. Now, they had these big problems last year. I expected that silver was going to go up last year because they closed down the government, and I expected a situation where if Moody's didn't downgrade the debt, they would issue some stern warnings. And you know what happened in August of 2011 when Standard & Poor's basically downgraded the debt. You know what happened there? That's what caused gold to go up. And then everybody's expecting it to go higher. Well, the whole situation could be, again, where there's a big budget crunch coming on, because every year there's a big budget crunch, but it's getting worse and worse and worse. It's almost like, how are we going to get this bike started? We got this bike here, everything looks nice. How are we going to get it started? We got to get it going on for the next trip. We got another run here on another weekend. That was last weekend. We went on a run, just like last year. We figured out the budget. This weekend or this year, we have a new budget. So let's compare it to going on another biker run, and we got to figure out everything's going to be cool for this run. And even though we can make things look good on the outside, is things really going to go? And we're going to be able to fund on all the appropriations we need to run the government for this year. So if there's a big squabble over the budget, and it actually comes into warnings from, say, Moody's or Standard & Poor's or whatever, and well, that could bring gold up, the dollar down, the markets down, and oil down. That would be scenario number 3. Gold would go up, silver would go up, some too, even, but mainly gold. But oil in the markets would go down if they can't figure out these budgets and they get these major impasses, and it looks like they're going to shut the government down and the dollar's not doing well and blah, blah, blah. And how are we going to finance things? And, how are we going to get the next biker run going here for the next year, right? So that's scenario number 3. But I just want you to remember that silver, gold, and the metals is probably your number 1 oasis in the middle of this sea of debt that we are sitting in the middle of the United States. It's all over the world. It's all over the whole planet. And you can say Russia doesn't have debt, but then again, there's problems over there too, where there's, their economy's kind of like mainly based upon the oil industry. And I just want to state this as a caveat too. You saw what, it looks like Vladimir Putin is a major competitor to the Western powers, but he's his own crook unto himself, right? Now, I just want to state this, that if oil prices go up, that's going to bring a lot of money into the Russian coffers, and it looks like the Western powers don't want that to happen. Now, they got a problem with ISIS, but that could send tensions in the Middle East, could actually send oil prices way the hell up. So they got a dilemma all the way around. I don't know how the hell they're going to do this. I think they want to keep the markets up, oil down, and the economy going. But I think they're running out of rabbits at it to pull out of the hat. That's what I think is really going on. I think for real. And something's going to probably happen that's going to be beyond the control of the Federal Reserve and the powers that be. Even, I know there's the New World Order garbage, where the financial crash of all countries due to heavy debt is going to bring them all into under a global central system of finance and central bank. But on the other side, I don't think they got everything figured out. So just remember, silver's like this surfboard that old girl is holding here. When you're out there in the middle of the water and there's nobody to really, that's a lifeboat. I mean, it's not going to function as raw cash or currency, but there's going to be a time when it's going to spike fast. But just beware of those $200 predictions by the end of the year. That's making me think it could jump up pretty fast. What I've been suspecting that silver's going to take, I've been suspecting this all along, but I don't know this for a fact. And even no professional trader knows this. Nobody knows this. Because unexpected Middle East events could change the scenario very quickly. But if silver can jump up radically fast and very quick due to unforeseen circumstances in the Middle East and problems with the budget and problems in the markets too, and global uncertainties. You know, geopolitical events can change the metals outlook in oil in overnight. But at the same time, if it gets too far ahead of itself, it's going to crash. Because I do think that the middle of the next financial crisis is September 2015. But it could go way up and come down, but not come down anywhere near where the price is right now. But I don't know. I just outlined 3 scenarios. But think of silver like a lifeboat, like a surfboard out in the middle of the water. You're going to need something at certain times. You don't need this surfboard to do every damn thing in the world for you, but if you're in the middle of the water sometimes, you damn well want that surfboard or you want that lifeboat, and that's just how you want to think of silver. But beware, I think you're being set up by this propaganda about $200 silver by the end of the year. And if it takes off really, really fast, and it does something really insane like going through 50, if they're telling you 200, that's ludicrous. I just want to warn you about that deal, and I don't know if it's going to jump up. I'm smelling this. I think that's going to happen. It's going to jump up fast, and it's going to crash even faster. How's that? But, you know, the 18-something is probably the bottom for silver, unless that one scenario I talked about is where the markets come down by themselves. That means everything comes down all at once, but they don't want that to happen either. I think it's out of their control. Now, I really do. I think it's out of their control. These guys are playing games, and it's out of their control. So you need this. You need this surfboard lifeboat over here, because when you're out there in the middle of the water, maybe the surfboard is not useful to you at all times. But when you're out there in the middle of the water, there's going to be times when situations like this are going to occur where you need that surfboard. So hang on to that investment.